Good Wednesday morning, friends, or afternoon, or evening, or whenever you might happen to join together to watch this time. This is our midweek time to pause together and reflect on our faith, reflect on where God is meeting us. For those of you who I may not know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Finley, our Momentum and Discipleship Pastor here at First United Methodist Church in Kirksville. And if you are in most places in Missouri, at least, you have some version of winter weather outside this morning. Kirksville has not too much snow. I know mid-Missouri is getting a little bit more, and wherever you happen to be, I hope you are warm and safe inside, and I'm glad that you're joining together with me. This is our time I have come to treasure, where we pause in the middle of the week, pause with all that swirls around us, and ask a question, some version of, where are we seeing God at work? Where are we seeing God move? How is God meeting us in these days? And the last few weeks, we've been shifting that question just a little bit and talking about the moments or the practices that help shift our vision just a little bit. Another way of saying, what are the ways, the moments, or the practices where God shifts our vision so that we can see God a little bit more clearly through all of the whirlwind of what's going on in our world in these days? I had two moments like that this week that I thought I would share with you. Now, many of you know that I'm a history nerd. That's why I'm up here in our archive room here in our church building this morning. Behind me, are archival boxes with all kinds of fascinating records from the past in the life of this church. Church bulletins, all the way to pictures of confirmation classes and all the things in between, minutes of meetings, and yes, I am the nerdy person that really would actually like to pause this and dive into a few of these boxes and see what fascinating things I can find in those old minutes. I'm not going to. But one of the reasons I'm up here today to talk with you is because history came to me this week, and that is one way in which God met me and shifted my vision just a little bit. Those of you who know, I help pastor, part of our pastoral team here at the church, but I also lead our campus ministry at Truman State University, and it's a fun part of my job. And I walked into our campus ministry building on Sunday and walked into a mystery. I picked up a piece of mail that was hand addressed, but it was addressed to a previous campus pastor by name, someone I know, a colleague I know, and I thought, I don't know quite what to make of this, and I thought, well, but it's addressed to the Wesley Foundation, so I'll open it. Now, those of you who know our history know that Wesley Foundation is the predecessor name for our campus ministry that has a long history here in Kirksville. And I opened this up to a beautiful, lovely note from someone who graduated from Northeast Missouri State, now Truman State, years ago. And the note read, in part, talked about how this person had recently been attending a church where someone was sharing about a campus ministry, and it brought to her mind her days at Truman at the Wesley Foundation. And she was just writing a note of thanks, mentioning that she was in college a long time ago, but it definitely gave her a place to belong. That the campus ministry gave her a place to belong, and something that young people have always needed. She said, thank you for the organization and that you provide, and for the non-judgmental space that you provide for our future leaders. Now, I don't know this person, although I suspect if I dig deep enough and make some contacts, we probably have some mutual contacts over the years. But that particular blast from the past, someone that I don't know that took the time to write about how much a welcoming space and a non-judgmental space had been part of her journey, was lovely and reminded me of why I like history, and I am planning to contact this person to learn more of the story. It shifted my vision just a little bit in a busy week. And then I had that in mind as I sat in our campus ministry building last night with some of our students who lead a study on Tuesday nights. And this semester, they're leading a study on mindfulness, practices that help us stay in the moment and to recognize God's presence in the day-to-day. And we had been doing some breathing exercises led by one of our students. And then she asked us, are you the type of person, do you tend to live in the past or the present or the future more? And the conversation was fascinating because we all tended to think, well, we should be living in the present. But everyone had a slightly different way of admitting, well, yes, but I tend to either look to the past and want to pull that into the future, or I'm a planner and I tend to think out ahead of what hasn't happened yet. And everyone expressed a little bit of a desire to maybe be more fully present in the present moment, even while acknowledging our slight differences of how we approach the past and the future. But I had this note in mind about how a welcoming, non-judgmental space had been an important part of someone's life way back in the 60s. And that came to my mind as I was listening to this current conversation with students, as I was participating in this conversation with students. And this interesting thing happened. That note from the past helped me stay fully present in that moment with our current students. The past came to speak to me in a way that allowed me to remain and delight in the present moment. You see, I think there is a sense in which those past moments sometimes come. God meets us and brings them into our present moment. And so I wonder, that's how God's meeting me this week. But I wonder how God is meeting you. And I wonder if you were to answer that question, do you tend to be thinking about the past or fully present in the moment or thinking about the future? When we answer those questions, there's no judgment. That's the challenge, right? There's no right or wrong answer there. But sometimes we get surprised by the ways in which those things meld together into one beautiful present moment, which is what happened for me last night, and God met me there. And so I'm wondering, answer that question for yourself. How is God meeting you, maybe in moments and memories from the past? How is God meeting you now, in the here and now in 2022? How is God meeting you in what you're dreaming about or thinking about for the future? That brought to mind a song. Those of you who worship with us online or in person will have sung this recently. It's called Gather Us In. It's a beautiful hymn in our Faith We Sing hymnal. I'm going to read a piece of this because I think it's just lovely. Here in this place, new light is streaming. Now is the darkness banished away. See in this space our fears and our dreamings brought here to you in the light of this day. Gather us in, the lost and forsaken. Gather us in, the blind and lame. Call to us now, and we shall awaken. We shall arise, the sound of our name. And then the third verse, or the fourth verse. Not in the dark of buildings confining, not in some heaven light years away, but here in this place. The new light is shining. Now is the kingdom. Now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever. Gather us in. Make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together. Fire of love in our flesh and our bone. I love those words. And while we might often think about that gather us into a physical space, I'm wondering today if we can also think about that gather us in, as gather us into the present moment. Gather us into the here and the now. Provide for us, oh God, the things that we need to be fully present right now, right here. And for me this week, that was a word from the past and a moment with students and maybe some dreaming about the future. But I wonder how we hear this verse, if we hear it as God gathering us in time, gathering us into the here and the now. Not to be confined, not in some future light years away, but here in this moment, the new light is shining. Here in this moment, the kingdom is this day. Gather us into this moment. Hold us forever. Gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together, right here, right now. Fire of love in our flesh and our bone. Friends, I hope and pray that as you reflect this morning, you know that God has met people in the past. God has met you in the past. God has met us now, today, this moment, and God will continue to meet us into the future. And so whatever your snowy day holds, whether it is hanging out at home and reading a good book, or whether it is doing the work that is designated for this day or something in between, know that this moment is holy. And if you need me, I might be spending a few moments diving into some memories of the past. Go in peace, my friends. Amen.